Bernie, I don't care what line of work you're in, micromanaging doesn't work, and it makes for unhappy employees and poor performance overall. That's what's happening with the Cardinals.
It seems logical to me. Yeah, I think they've become, really top-heavy with that stuff. And I just wonder how good they are at it, too. That's the other thing. Yeah. I mean, John Mozeliak didn't make these decisions on the pitching staff, starting rotation, without major input from the analytics department. And by the way, the Cardinals analytics department, frankly, has just fell behind. Used to be in front of most major league teams as far as the value and the performance. It's fallen behind. It's fallen behind. Like, where are the Devil Magic players? Where'd they go? Where the Cardinals see something in a player that no one else sees, that kind of thing. I don't think so. It's a shame because I know how much Bill DeWitt believes in it, and that's why I brought in Jeff Luna, who did a fantastic job putting in these kind of things. But Luna ain't here, as we know, and he ain't coming back, as we know. But it's really slipped. So I don't know what kind of data they feed to John Mozeliak, Michael Gersh. I really don't know. But it ain't working because every area of the team, as we talked about at length, is really kind of free-falling. So what are they giving these? I don't even understand what's being handed down. It ain't working. It's not effective. I do know that.
No doubt about that. Bernie, how about we bring Yachty back? He can teach Contreras what to do. Yachty can be the manager.
We get that question a lot. I was thinking about it. I got a better idea.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yadier Molina, Benji Molina, and as Yadi refers to him as Jojo Molina. You get the three Molina brothers in here, and you're gonna have those whining starting pitchers, finger pointing, backstabbing starting pitchers. They're going to be getting out rosary beads, and they're going to have a come to Jesus meeting, and they may actually run away. Bring all three Molina brothers in here, and metaphorically speaking, of course, slap these guys around.
Wow!
Right?
Yeah.
What do you think of that? It's like the three. Can you imagine just like looking over there if you're an opposing team? And all three of those big, huge, menacing guys are like staring at you across the way, staring at you at your dugout. Can you imagine seeing that sight?
Wouldn't put up with anything. That's for
No, seriously, try to think of that vision. Those three guys on that rail together. They're all physically imposing. They were all really good major league catchers for a long time. All three of them are take charge guys. They're aggressive. They have their beliefs. They get after it. They compete like crazy. Put all three of them in the dugout, and I'll go along with this. Because then, if Mozeliak or one of the analytical nerds try to come down and tell Yachty what to do, you're gonna have to get through Benji and JoJo. You may not get there to talk to Yachty about it.
You're right.
No, Mo, the manager will not see you now. Right?
That would be interesting, no doubt.
Oh, man.
Good.
That would be so much fun. I don't know if it worked. It'd be a hell of a lot of fun. And we ain't having any fun right now.
No, we're not.
Other than going on Twitter to make wisecracks and stuff. Anyway, go ahead.
DeWitt, extending Mo is about as bad as some of Mo's extensions of the past years. Guess a positive for the front office. Maybe they've really cut back on those, except where they probably should have with the likes of Montgomery. I really don't want Mo at the helm any longer. Too painful in this dumpster fire of a season.
I wish I had a message to you that you would approve of, but I don't see DeWitt firing him unless maybe it's something really crazy like a 1962 expansion Mets type season. Or you could also here's one scenario that I haven't talked about though. Mm-hmm. Shame on me. But there's the part two. I'm going to tell you part one. The part two is troublesome. We have seen some baseball executives, Mozeliak types, that have been really, really, really good for a long time, but they get a little long in the tooth, and they kind of lost the magic. They're a little bit behind the times. It plays with their head because then they go in the wrong way like Mo is now by just like not even acknowledging the starting pitching is bad. And this Contreras thing that has embarrassed the franchise from coast to coast among baseball people and fans. So you don't have to like humiliate Mozeliak because, again, this guy has helped this team franchise win a lot of games. And see, I'm not into this stuff. Where people dislike a guy like Mozeliak so much, it's like they refuse to even acknowledge that he's been overall pretty damn successful. But he's obviously gone south. Not as good as he was, not as effective as he was. But they won a ton of games with him playing a major role. So, listen, I don't do that stuff. Don't deny that just because you can't stand him. You got to look at it fairly, which I am. I acknowledge the tremendous success they had. But now it's almost like it's stale and it's outdated, and you need new leadership. So what you can do, you can move him upstairs. He can be like Walt Jocketty was in Cincinnati. He's an advisor. There's all kinds of advisors, and they were basically general managers or president of baseball operations who were moved upstairs. It's kind of a soft demotion. But they have a fancy title and they're still around. But the problem I have with that, because that would be easy to do. But then what do you do in terms of finding the guy to run things? If you're going to try to sell Michael Gersh to the peoples, good luck.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Randy Flores, maybe you can do that. I think we all look at him pretty highly. You can actually give Mo, flip his job into the senior advisor role or whatever, and then you have someone take over the baseball operation. And here's the deal. It can't, if that ever would become a reality or even a serious consideration, you can't bump up somebody that's kind of going to be more of the same. You just can't do it. Maybe that's unfair to Gersh. I don't know, because none of us know what the hell he does anyway. No, he works, but remember when he was the general manager and he'll be the one speaking for the organization and blah blah blah. Mo's going to that lasted about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So anyway,
next question on the text line, Bernie. Seriously, how much responsibility does Dusty Blake have with the failure of the pitching staff?
I think I don't know how to say, well, it's all of it or he's got a lot of it. He's certainly a factor. And it's not like he hasn't been around. He was around last year, not in an upfront role like pitching coach, but he was right in the middle of their operation last year. And I know none other than Adam Wainwright was impressed with him. But when you metaphorically speaking, when you have to sit in the big chair, it's a little different. It's one thing to be back behind the scenes and you're looking at video and you're fiddling with stats and you're, doing all these things that are not exactly tied to handling a pitching staff in the game, which he hasn't done for the Cardinals until now. No, I haven't been impressed at all. But then again, I try to be fair to him because it all goes back to the same thing. It goes back to the same things. The president of baseball operation has no damn idea how to put a starting rotation together. So do we blame Dusty Blake on that? I don't, but I think he's got to be a factor. He ain't making it better, and you would hope a pitching coach can make it better. But then again, he's working for Ali Marmol, and Ali Marmol is just a very uncomfortable man these days. I just it just seems awkward to even see them in the dugout, all of them together. It really truly does. So I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, I would only say that he's a factor. I just don't know how big of a factor. But let's not ever forget or overlook who's primarily responsible. And that's where it all starts.
Well, I want to not get back, but
sure.
Remember one of the things you said early, right before we went to Derek, was Jim Edmonds going on his little rant last night. there is got to be also with this pitching staff the responsibility of the guys just aren't making pitches when they need to make the pitch.
And they're babies.
Yeah.
Let me real quickly, if I can, let me find this. It takes a second. Tell you some of the stuff he heard, because he said last night, because I was rushed because we were ready to go to Derek early in the show. So, to my pleasant surprise, he comes on the post-game show with Alexa Dat on Bally Sports Midwest, and the Contreras thing came up, and Jim just kind of went off. Now, listen, he wasn't shouting or anything. He was under control, but frankly, let's all agree to this. You don't get much candor on post-game shows after the Cardinals lose. I mean, I don't know how many times I've watched Bally during this bad stretch of ball, and Cardinals will lose like 11-2 or something, and it's like, how about Goldie? Had 3 hits, and then you just get all these Goldie highlights. Dudes, you lost 11-2. People aren't going to be. You can't sell the propaganda tonight, okay?
Yeah, so true.
So something like what Edmonds did last night was excellent. I mean, I was like, I sat up in my chair. That's a cliche, but I did. Whoa, this is different. He says it's not Wilson Contreras' fault. He was saying, like, he's like basically talking as if he were a pitcher. Hey, Wilson Contreras doesn't know the pitchers. Hey, Wilson Contreras is putting down the wrong fingers. Edmonds said, if you're a big league pitcher, you don't have a feel for your curveball. You don't say okay to a curveball. I don't care how much time you have or how many things are going on, and a pitcher puts down a sign, or a catcher puts down a sign. If you don't feel like throwing it, you don't throw it. And if you throw it, that's your fault. It's not his fault. And if you don't have enough time, you need to regroup. You figure out how to work the signs. If the pitch clock's winding down, you need to figure out how to relay what you want to do before everyone is looking at you. It's your butt on the line. If you're telling me that Wilson Contreras doesn't know some of these guys, okay, I get it. But you can't shake off all the time, and that's on you as a pitcher. You need to go in there with a game plan. You need to say, this is me. I need to get my cutter inside. Stay on me. I need to get my curveball away. I need to throw my changeup on this count. And I'm not doing that stuff. You tell me. Right? He said that's not Wilson Contreras' fault, and I don't care who says it is. It's BS. Maybe it's the pitch clock, or maybe it's this, or maybe it's that. You know what? It's still your fault. Because you need to make adjustments as a pitcher to figure out how you're going to relay the signs. And if you don't want to shake off if you don't want to shake off if he puts down the slider and you feel like crap with your slider that day, and then you throw the slider and you throw it down the middle and it gets hit, that's your damn fault, and you need to live with it. You've got to figure this out. You've got to let this guy do his job and just work it out. There's no blame game. If it is what it is. Final thing he said, come on now, get off his back. That may be the best thing I've ever heard on a Bally Sports Midwest show, or even going back to Fox Sports Midwest. No one has ever topped that. That stands alone. Because number one, it was accurate. Number two, Jim Edmonds used his voice, which could be very influential. He's a Cardinal Hall of Famer. We saw him do great things. He himself worked with pitchers because as a center fielder, won a million Gold Gloves, man. He was always talking to them about what they're throwing and where he should set up and all this other stuff. He actually knows pitching. Well, as a hitter, as great as he was, he should know pitching. But that was like, for those of us who are so burned out on the propaganda all the time, that was like the old, oasis in the middle of the desert last night. I was like, did he really just say all that? And then I rewound it to hear it again, and then I rewound it this morning so I could transcribe it. I mean, what did you think about that? I gave you the full thing.
Yeah, I'm shocked that he did it, and because when you're on the post game, that you're supposed to. Not saying you're supposed to, but it's like, oh, we can't. We gotta, dress this up a little bit. Did I tell you about Paul DeYoung and his great swings? Let's go and take a look at that. That's the kind of thing. It's impressive, and it's also it's true. Again, you can't keep – it has nothing to do with Wilson Contreras. I enjoy when Jim talks baseball. I think when he gets off the beaten path, I go, oh, Jim, you need to wrangle it back in. But what he talked about last night was baseball stuff and that comment, and that's dead on. I know in recent broadcast he's mentioned – he was asked something, I think it was the other day, he talked about a couple of players showed him those cards that they give out to go, this is the defensive way we want to play these guys. And they asked him, what do you think of these, Jim? And he said, you shouldn't even need those. You should already know where you need to play guys.
Isn't that right? That's so right.
You should know what your pitcher's trying to do and how he's going to pitch to them so you can play whatever position, move to the left, move to the right, play him deeper, play him shorter. He goes, you should already know all that stuff. You shouldn't even need those cards. And he was just being honest with whoever was showing him those cards. And that's more along the lines of what he put out there last night. It's about the pitchers, man. You got to make your pitch. If you don't have that pitch going tonight, then you don't throw that pitch. And it shouldn't be the catcher's responsibility to do that. It's your responsibility. You're throwing the pitch. It was strong. It was good. I don't know if it sinks in to anybody there, but that's.
Oh, it will. I think so.
I hope so.
Because it's unusual for someone at Bally Sports Midwest to be really aggressive and speak his mind without hesitation. And listen, and I know those folks have a job. I know what's expected of them. I get it. But when the Cardinals are really bad and they're just finding all these different ways to lose, and as Ed pointed out and backed up with stats, every area of the team is bad right now. You know what people crave? I found this by going back on Twitter. I really did. They just want honesty. They want candor. They're not saying they want someone to savage the Cardinals. No, there's a way you make your points. That's why I always try to back it up with facts, and the facts can stand for themselves. But people, Cardinals fans right now are just really, really hungry for candor and truth and honesty, and maybe some good humor mixed in. Because I'll be honest, I got to the point where I never missed a post-game show. Rarely. I can't watch it anymore. And you know what I was doing? I was reading something, and I just happened to have the TV still on because I had tuned out on the Lakers and all that stuff. I was kind of like, wait a minute, why? What's he saying?
Right.
But no, I had pretty much given up all hope that you would ever hear one honest, truthful thing in terms of how bad they're playing.
Good for Jim.
No, good for Jim is right.
Yep.